Hello YouTube, welcome to another Genshin Impact video. Today we'll be looking at Sucrose, the assistant of the Master Alchemist Albedo, and the person interested in bioalchemy as they like to put it. Sucrose is an Anemo user, blessed by the Anemo Archon Venti or Barbados, whatever you like to call him. And she's a very good character to have as a support DPS as well as someone that you use to build, your energy recharge to build your ults very quickly. Sucrose is very versatile when it comes to the way you can build her. You can either build her as fully elemental recharge because she's one of the few characters in a game that has double procs of her elemental skill, even at 0 constellations, which is pretty broken in my opinion. And the fact that b- the way her elemental skill is set up to control large amounts of mobs, it comes in very handy if you're in any situation where you're getting like overrun. You could just drop it twice and then it'll pull them in and you have a little breathing room for yourself. To show her artifacts, I'm currently running a viridiscent, well, I'll start with the weapon. I have a Skyward Artless on her. I pulled it on one of the, I put it on the standard banner as one of my utilizations of my free-to-play wishes. I think they're called standard wishes or something. And it's a pretty good book to have on her because it increases your elemental damage bonus by 12, and since Sucrose is all elemental, it's pretty good to have on her. And normal attacks have a 50% chance to earn the favor of the clouds, which seek out nearby enemies to attack for 15 seconds, dealing 160% attack damage. And because she's solely elemental, when it comes to fighting monsters or mobs that are resistant to Anemo, it comes in very clutch, that little orb. And I'm going to show, let me find a group of mobs. Let's see, who's likely to have mobs around them. Yeah, saboteur are never alone. So, having that little orb around you does a world of good because if you turn out to be finding something that has Anemo resistance, but for whichever reason you cannot, you don't have any other characters to use, it could end up dealing more damage for you. And the same way that, oh, I need this. Since I'm here, I'm just gonna use my jongleur to farm these materials real quickly. So yeah, if you're using, you can use the book the same way Official does with Oz, and you end up dealing more damage because when you switch to a different character, you still have the orb around you dealing damage for you. And it does a world of damage actually. You think it would be like something negligible, but it's actually pretty good. So let's get up here. Let's find our saboteur. Okay, our ult is back. I mean, our elemental skill is back. So basically, there's a lot of people like this. And now I have the favor of the clouds. And if I switch around, it's still gonna deal damage for me. And it's not dealing like little damage. It deals a good amount of damage. And for her ult, if there is, because of this, the Nemo set that I'm running on her, it increases swirl damage. Well, it increases Nemo damage by 15%, but it also increases swirl damage by 60. Now, what swirl damage does is it infuses other elements with a Nemo. So that means if you're able to infuse another element, like I just did, when I dropped the ult, it reacted with the fire pit, the fire from the fire pit. So it increases the damage done by that combination by 60% and also decreases the elemental resistance that the mobs are going to have to the element, which is fire in this case, that I was infusing in that swirl by 40% for 10 seconds. So if I had a fire character on my team, after dropping her ult and making it, turn, right now it's infused with water. So if I had, that means this mob is going to have a reduction, as you can see the arrows, to hydro. So if I was using either Shinchu, or if I was using Child, or even Barbara, I'd be able to deal more damage.
Anemo test secret absorption test.
And just having her right now, I have her at Mark's Constellation because I summoned on the banner she was on. Her constellations are pretty good. Her first one gives you that extra charge on your I made a mistake before, said it was 0, but the first constellation, which is pretty easy, or which was pretty easy to get, deals gives you another charge on her a stable Anemo hypostasis creation 6308. That's her elemental skill, or her E. Death unbound form. The duration of forbidden creation isomer 75 type 2, that's her ult, is increased by 2 seconds. Flawless alchemistress increases the level of her ult by 3. Every 7 normal and charge attacks, Sucrose will reduce the cooldown of a stable Anemo hypostasis creation. That's her ult by 1 to 7 seconds. So if you keep spamming normal attacks, you reduce the amount of time it takes to launch your ult. Increases the level of Forbidden Creation Isomer 75 Type 2 by 3. And if this triggers an elemental absorption, all parties members gain a 20% elemental damage bonus for the corresponding absorbed element during its duration. If you think about it, this is pretty broken. Alright, so let's try and put two and two together here. You're gaining a 20% elemental damage bonus for the corresponding element absorbed during its duration, right? That means if you drop her ult and it infuses hydro, for example, all your characters are going to gain um you're going to gain 20% more elemental damage during the ult, right? And so if I drop the ult and um I switched to Child, right? He's a Hydro character. And during the ult I infuse Hydro. Child is going to do an additional he's going to do an additional 20% Hydro damage, right? And so this would go up to 80. And because of the artifacts that we're running on her, it's going to decrease the elemental resistance of the mobs by 40% to Hydro for 10 seconds, right? And let's see, how long does this last? It lasts for 6 seconds. So during the ult, basically, you're going to have a short period of 6 seconds or 5, let's say, because give and take, you're going to switch out and everything. You're going to have about 5 seconds, right? Where your character, if you have them at hydro damage or with elemental damage at 80%, at 60%, they're going to deal 80% of damage, right? And the mobs are going to have 40% reduced damage to that element. So basically, you're just going to be very nigh invincible in that period of time. Now, when it comes to other weapons you can run on her, you could definitely use this map. No, not this one. The map mare, right? It's an infusion scroll. It's a free-to-play weapon that you can craft using your Northlander prototypes. It triggering an elemental reaction grants an 8% elemental damage bonus for 10 seconds, max 2 stacks. So you can have 16% elemental damage from using your E skill twice, basically, because at Constellation 1 she gains that additional charge, and so you can deal a lot more damage. Elemental Mastery. What Elemental Mastery does is it increases your swirl damage. That's an elemental reaction, so it would increase your swirl damage by um, a corresponding amount. Let me see if I put a Wondrous set on her for the Elemental Mastery. So you could also run her with two-piece Wanderer, two-piece Anemo, but I just prefer the four-piece Anemo. But it would increase swirl damage by 50% while she's at Elemental Mastery 114. So if you're running a Mapper Mare on her, you're just going to get even more Anemo damage for your buck. That's more bang for your buck. So all in all, Sucrose, if you wished on the banner she was on, I think she was on the child banner, I think. Am I wrong? I forget which banner she was on. But if you're able to get her, it's amazing. She's an amazing character to use. Very easily built, very easy to get, the Anemo artifacts for her, especially if you're AR-45. Her constellations are pretty good. Like they are actually, it's not like someone like Zhongli that after his first constellation, you don't really, like, you can live without, well, his fourth is pretty good too, but you can live without the other constellations, so you can use them at C0. But Sucrose is the kind of character to have both at C0, and you would also like to max her out just because she deals a good amount of damage. So, yeah, that is it for Sucrose. I hope you enjoy using her. She's a great character to have. I've used her. I've enjoyed using her very much. Thank you for tuning in. Let me know down in the comments which character you'd like to see built. I have almost all the characters. The only characters I do not have are Mona, Diluc, and the new Fire Girl, Xin Chang, that I'm probably going to summon for later. Xing Yang, I think her name is pronounced. My bad for that. That I'm going to summon for later on. Definitely before the banner is gone. And I use her in trial, and I enjoyed her. Like, it was love at first sight. So I'm definitely going to summon for her, try and max her out if I do have the money for it. But thank you very much. I will see you guys later. Leave a comment, like, and subscribe. I appreciate it very much, and thank you for the support so far.